by the county executive, then no harm, no foul. We won't know for 100% sure until they say it's a practice and they find that's acceptable, or they'll say it has to be by the county exec, and then I'm sure they'll go ahead with that.
This is a different call. I just hung up on them.
So Dave,
I'm sorry. I had a call coming in on the other phone, and I just tried to, I muted myself temporarily, but unmuted myself.
Okay.
so let's continue the discussion. So what's the feel of other people? I'm not, it's just, this was a thought to move things in a more expedient manner, but if everyone wants to wait, we can wait, we can take a vote. If it doesn't abide, then it won't hold.
I think we should go ahead and do that tonight.
Okay, other thoughts?
Yeah, we could vote, because if it doesn't mean anything, then we just don't go forward with it.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Ditto.
Chuck, you can
This
still
is-
abstain if you want.
This is
Thank
this is Jonathan. So that we can get things moving, we should go ahead and vote.
Okay. Okay, so we'll go ahead and move things along. So the proposal on the table is to elect Barbara to be vice chair of the SWAC. Presuming that that is a move that gives an official approval. If not, we will wait to hear from the county executive. So that's an amended proposal on the table. All in favor, say aye.
Let me correct you. That's not the way to do it. Since you're the chair, let somebody like myself, I can say I make a motion.
Okay, go ahead.
The motion, Jonathan Madagu made a motion to select the vice chair on a temporary basis. And somebody else needs a second, then we can vote.
Well,
A
it's not
second.
really it's not a temporary basis. It's
Pending the
Opinion.
when we'll get the normal process. Because right now, we are not sure if the commissioners can appoint their co-chair. Somebody has suggested that it is done by the county executive.
Yes.
Somebody also said that if that's not the process, if that's not the proper procedure, then we can go back to the normal process. The reason for making this vote is for us to keep it moving so that we can be functioning until we get the legal advice or from the council. That's all I'm saying.
But how about making it pending on that rather than
right,
temporary?
pending. It should be
Okay,
pending.
pending. Okay, it's just the language, pending.
Yeah, exactly. We all agree.
Okay. Anybody second?
I'll second that.
Okay. All in favor? It's not, so Kevin, are you making a note?
Yes,
Okay, so it's Barbara, Nancy, Jonathan, David.
Where's Cola?
No,
I'm also in favor. Can you see me?
We can't see you.
Yeah, I'm also in favor. I don't know what's wrong with my.
Okay, then you can.
We see your nose on down.
can you fix your camera?
Yeah. So let me see.
There you are.
Ah, you have a whole face.
Okay, I'm counting, we're counting the vote. Who voted yes? Put your hand up so
I
we can.
voted yes.
Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've got 6 yeses.
Okay.
All except for Nyla and Chuck.
Right.
Right.
Okay, all those not in favor. And those abstain.
Okay.
Do you want, now you're gonna vote or no?
I want to, the signal is very wonky, and I need to be reiterated what was to be voted upon, because I can't hear anybody.
Oh, God, okay. Kevin, could you read it back to her as it was?
say it again, Nancy.
Okay, can you read to Nyla the language of the proposal?
So Nyla, the proposal is for Barbara to be elected as vice chair of the SWAC, pending the opinion of the sex office on whether she will be appointed by the sex office or chosen by the SWAC members.
Okay. Okay, so I vote that we wait to confirm Ms. Barbara, but we have to wait for their approval. Whatever they say, it's fine, we can do it. Either way, I vote Ms. Barbara for vice chair.
Okay, so we're gonna say, just make that a yes.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Okay, so we have then 7 yeses, 1 abstention. So Barbara is
Thank
pending.
you very much, guys.
And hopefully this will happen in the next day or two. We'll have the word and I'll send that out to everybody, let you know what they've said.
Thank you.
Okay, so Barbara, do you want to discuss, there have been some thoughts to put on the agenda, was to add a couple other officers, which we do have the authority to do that. We're clear about that. The bylaws say we can do that. So there's been some suggestions about adding a couple other officers. Can you speak to that?
I would love to. Yeah, got to thinking that now that we're trying to get a little more organized and get a vice chair and whatnot, that there are a couple of other positions that would be very useful to have. One is a repository of documents, and especially because that nice website that Kevin put up for the documents seems to at least have become very problematic to access. And we keep going to Bill, and he keeps coming up with documents we need. And he has offered that he would be willing to be an information officer or a document repository or whatever we would like to call it. But somebody who we can go to and say, Bill, we need this. Because we keep needing documents that goes back and forth needing them. The other thing is a question of so that would be the one officer. The other officer would be a question of notes of the meeting. So Kevin had been kindly taking notes of our meetings. They had been on the website. They got taken down from the website. Now all that's up on the website is the full recording of the meeting, which is a very time-consuming way if you want to see what was covered in a meeting to have to listen to the whole Verschlugener recording. And these notes existed, but are somewhere, and Kevin's trying to find them. He found the last 2 months and is looking for the others. But Dave has kindly offered to be something like a secretary or whatever we'd want to call it, who would keep Kevin's notes of the meeting, keep his notes of the meeting. In fact, if we decide we want to have meeting minutes, to then get such meeting minutes, which would have to be approved by the membership. So to give all of these options. So that would be my proposal, is to add those 2 officer positions.
Okay, thanks, Barbara. So Barbara's making a motion basically to add 2 officer positions. Does anybody second that?
I'll second it.
Okay, thanks, Chuck.
Jonathan,
And now we're gonna have, we're gonna have discussion. So the floor is now open for conversation. Nyla, I hope you can hear us.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, one at a time, please. Go ahead, Jonathan, you were gonna speak. Then Chuck.
well, basically, I'm saying that it's a good proposal. It's a good suggestion to add those 2 officers. That's all.
Okay, great,
Thank you.
thank you. Chuck,
I get a point of order, a point of law. I'm not sure which, and I'm not sure if Kevin will know the answer. Since Kevin keeps an official recording of this, of our meetings, and then we're going to have either minutes or notes, what is the official record? Is it the notes or is it the recording? Or Is it a combination thereof? Can we do both? I'm not sure.
The recording is obviously an official one. If we approve minutes, they would also be the official. When it's somebody's notes I mean, it's very kind that Kevin has taken notes. Whoever
That was
takes
why I
notes is
raised it. Are
kind,
they
but that's
going-
not
are they-
official.
Yeah, are they going to be minutes or are they going to be notes?
Okay, so
We-
there's, let
we
me,
decide that.
point of order here. There's a distinction between minutes and notes. Notes tend to be detailed. This is what happened at the meeting. So and so said this and that. Minutes have a very formal structure. I think my understanding is that we're supposed to be taking minutes. And the minutes basically just document actions. For example, a proposal, as we just did, and the vote on the proposal, those would be actions. The next thing would be discussion of the additional officers who would say proposal and the actions. It doesn't detail all that stuff. That's stuff that is just helpful for us as the workers on the group. Okay, so the minutes would be they appear to be somewhat skeletal. Should we move forward with that? And they have to be approved by us. That's what makes them official. We approve them. So that's a difference. Okay, so back, other thoughts on the two additional positions. And we could, they don't have to be the only ones, but that's a proposal on the table. Other thoughts? Okay, well, if there's no other thoughts, then we should just go ahead and vote on that. All in favor? Dave? Okay, so we have everyone's not Nyla?
I'm in favor of the new positions. I turned off my camera to help with the reception a little bit. So I put it in the chat to confirm.
Okay.
Good idea.
Okay, so we're approving the two new positions with the attendant persons who have and both of those persons, I presume Dave and Bill, are willing to serve. Yes?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you, guys. Okay,
And just for clarity, Chuck, I didn't see how you voted. You were in favor, abstain, object?
he was
I
in
voted-
favor.
I voted in favor.
Okay, sorry, I didn't see your hand up. Sorry, that was my bad.
Okay, great. Okay.
Great.
Kevin, before we go there's Tim. Okay. We're hoping that Marilyn will be here fairly soon. Okay, so we're going to move on to committee structure. I sent you all, if you saw it, just a little while ago. I sent you some information about what we had decided last November based on the bylaws. And I had sent you a copy. Basically, I copied what is in the bylaws about the subcommittees, which is Article 5, which sets out 3 subcommittees: Education and Outreach, Legislation Committee, and Future Solid Waste Management Initiatives. I also sent you the descriptions underneath that says basically sort of in generally what they do. We had added or talked about adding 2 other committees that were ad hoc. And again, by regulation, we have the authority to do this, is adding a committee on basically on greenhouse gas. In particular, there's an interest in following and concern about methane. I might suggest that we call it something broader, like Greenhouse Gas Committee or a Climate and Greenhouse Gas or something. I don't know. I know, Dave, this is something you're interested in. You could speak to. Then the other committee on a topic would be, we had discussed having a reuse, and I put reuse and material recovery committee, partly because of really looking at how to divert more usable materials from the landfill. So that would be 5. We had a list of populated persons who agreed to populate those committees. We can go over that. So
May
Dave,
may I just interrupt, Nancy?
sure.
Does I love your idea of making a diversion and also a reduce would be very important. Is there some way to get the reduce into the title also? Because if
Sure.
we're starting to advocate for things, that
Yeah, we
seems to me to be critical.
Yeah, I can add that. Mhm. Yeah, and I wrote a description, which I did not send. I don't think I sent that out, but I did that. So Dave, what do you think about the ad hoc committee? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I guess for the last year or so, when we've been having the discussion about the landfill in particular, I think it's really important that we are able to get some things done there. And I think there's some things that are underway. I mean, there's discussion about the getting a new pipe through there so that we can stop doing the flaring. We've talked to Russ Dickerson about the possible study that might be the University of Maryland might be doing, which might include maybe more flowers, but also looking at the landfill on the ground and doing measurements there. I think these things are all really important. And I think it's critical that we take these on, not necessarily we, but the county, because this is maybe a big part of what we can do in terms of mitigating greenhouse gases. So I think it's a pretty important committee. And I would like to be on it.
Okay, that's great. And what we need to title these or give them a scope of work. So, and we're going to work on organizing ourselves around these committees and subsequent meetings. Tonight is really just to get ourselves established. I don't want these committees to just be a waste of time. I want to figure out like a goal for each committee eventually. So at least we can aim for each group to accomplish at least something before the end of the year, even if it's something small. So I don't know if you want to call it the methane committee, or the greenhouse gas committee or something else? I don't know. What's your thought?
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. I would need to think about that, but maybe it should be a little bit more than just methane. But I guess that's the primary issue we're dealing with at Brown Station. And possibly even a couple of the other closed landfills. I remember when we were talking about the landfill at Sandy, I forget what it's called.
How about air quality?
Yeah, and I know they were doing some venting there, some flaring. They were also taking some of the, I guess, what was it, affluents from there. So I guess it's just something we should be looking at. Maybe it's more than just methane.
Right. So greenhouse gases or air quality are other options.
I worry that air quality, especially now with having just had the code purple, makes us think about, the stuff coming in from Canada, which we can't do anything about.
Well, the greenhouse gases sort of covers, emissions.
Yes, exactly.
Without, presumably from the landfill related issues.
Yeah. I like that very much.
Are you okay with that, Dave?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to change it.
The other thing I like very much with greenhouse gases, it gets in, if one wants sort of any discussion of how the advantage of having more local sites for resource recovery versus having to drive the 50 miles round trip to Upper Marlboro from here, because that is a bad greenhouse gas source.
Right. Well, the landfill means it's all concentrated in one place as opposed to.
Right, right. But I mean,
Reducing particulate matter from cars and trucks and,
right, but it would encompass that if we have
Right.
greenhouse
Yes.
gases. I
well,
like.
and it could encompass things we haven't even, other
Exactly.
potential emissions problems at the landfill.
Nancy would also might include our composting facility there near Upper
Yep.
Marlboro,
Yes,
which is actually a pretty clean facility, I believe. But that's something that could potentially emit not just CO2 or something, but it might emit some methane.
yes.
And
And
so
other
truck-
things, exactly. Okay, so we're gonna switch the name. That's what's gonna be our, we'll approve the ad hoc committees. So Dave, I don't know if you're willing to write like a 2-sentence description. We can have that for the next time. I already drafted something which I'll send around before the next meeting for the reuse. I'll add Barbara, reuse, reduce, and material recovery. They're really subcommittees. They're not committees. They're actually subcommittees. So, okay. So if someone could make a motion.
I make a motion.
Okay, so the motion will be to add the 2 ad hoc committees, one being the greenhouse gas subcommittee, the other being the reuse, reduce, and materials recovery subcommittee.
Second,
With Dave and Nancy being respectively the,
Yeah, well, I'll go
chairs
through
of
that.
those.
Once we'll get this approval, then I'll go
Okay.
through the list of members.
Sorry about that.
Okay, so that's
Didn't
okay.
mean to
Chuck,
overstep.
did you second?
yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for the second. Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for sounding out.
Yes. You're welcome.
Mr. Cola, yes or no?
Yes. I
Yes,
said
okay.
yes, yeah.
Okay, Dave, yes, okay, good. Okay, great. Okay, great, everybody. Thank you very much. Okay, so the list I have now, we're gonna look at the membership on the committees. And as I said, we're not gonna do anything beyond this really tonight. On the education and outreach, now, this is what people had agreed to in the past. If you want to change it, it's absolutely fine. Just gonna make a record of who's on what committee. If you want to think about it too, that's fine. But this is what we have from November. Mr. Cola, and Nyla and Barbara on the education and outreach. Do you all still want to do that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, anybody else want to do that? Okay, great. Okay, the legislative committee is Chuck. Alexandra is gone. I was thinking I might actually join that one. But we could use anyone else who's interested. Okay, Chuck, it's me and you for now.
Nancy, let me make a comment about that very quickly. I don't want to tie up the meeting, but there's been a couple of pieces of legislation that were enacted recently,
Yes,
particularly concerning paper goods at restaurants and carryouts and those kinds of things. There's been at least 2 bills. They were never presented us in any way, shape, or form, even though we asked that we be kept in the loop. So I hope once we get organized, that somehow the rest of the government will realize, yes, we're out here and yes, we want to be involved.
yeah, thanks for that. Yes, Barbara and I have a meeting set up with the council chair and the TIEE chair for June 30th.
Well, mention that to them because like I
Oh,
said, there have definitely been environmental things that have gone through that should have come to us that haven't come to us.
Chuck, that's the purpose. The purpose is to say, we need to be working together.
Thank you.
Jonathan, thank you. Jonathan?
Yes, I believe in spring of 2020, the Prince George's County Council passed a council resolution, CR 007 2020, mandating a climate action commission. There is already a commission to develop a climate action plan for Prince George's County by September 30th, 2021. The date to have been drafted plan was recently extended to January. It was extended to January 2022, but as of today, I don't know where is this commission.
They're finished already.
Is this commission in existence or is it for just something that was proposed that that did not, that was never implemented. And because I don't
They were very active and are finished.
they're done with their job.
Yeah.
So are we trying to do what they have done, or is this because it's like somebody mentioned climate, environmental concern? I thought all this job has been done. Why are we including this in our committee when we know that there's already a document out there that that has been done by even consultants? Consultants were paid to do these jobs.
Kevin, do you know what the status of that is? Or maybe Tim knows?
I think the DOE has already drafted a climate action plan, and it is handled by our sustainability division. And I think it underwent consultation with stakeholders. That's the extent of information that I know, but I can check. But as far as I know, there's a climate action plan that was already drafted.
Their plan, their mandate was much broader than solid waste and the issues generated by solid waste. Yes, there's overlap in it, but it was a much broader mandate, I believe.
I think
Yeah.
that's
Much.
correct.
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Okay,
Chuck, actually,
take on that.
Jonathan, go ahead.
I said that's just my take on that, so that we won't be doing anything overlapping.
Yeah, I think eventually I'd like to be clear about the intersection of all these different angles and its impact on the solid waste piece, whether it's the zero waste plan was done and now that's done. It's not clear why that doesn't continue to be updated or how that's going to function. That's what we're hoping to learn more by talking, Chuck, for example, the county council people. And there was a committee meeting today. I got a notice because I'm on every single list in the county. But the committee passed the thing about the plastic bag. The better bag
great.
bill was today in the committee. So
Yeah,
what?
but
Yeah.
we-
Well, I don't know what happened. It was
we
supposed to
didn't
be
get-
reported out and I never heard
we didn't
anything.
we didn't get involved with that at all.
Right.
And I
Yeah.
don't understand that.
Well, I hope we can change that. That's something that's really, we need to be involved and know what's going on. And our mandate actually says local and state. So that is our mandate.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Okay. So that's legislation. It has a funny title, Future Solid Waste Initiatives is Chuck, Mr. Cola and Barbara. So Jonathan, are you on a committee?
I'm on the methane.
Okay, you're gonna be on the methane. Okay, good. All right. Okay, so that's the future solid waste initiatives. Is everybody okay with that, Chuck? That
Yes.
makes sense. Mr. Cola, yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Anybody, Barbara, yes?
Yep.
Anybody else?
We're good.
Dave, let's add Dave. I'm gonna add Dave to that. Okay. Okay, great. And okay, on the greenhouse gas subcommittee is Dave, Jonathan, and Barbara. And on the reuse committee, basically it's me, Bill, and Barbara. Yeah.
Yep.
Now, Barbara, I'm gonna a discussion of a possibility of some governance or executive committee, but it's 6:30 and we have only a half hour. I'm going to table that to the next meeting. If that's okay.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
because, with Tim here.
I'm trying to keep us to get stuff done and keep us on track. Okay, so the other thing was the discussion that you all had when I wasn't at the last meeting about the length of the meetings. I'd like to propose and have someone make a motion to give us an hour and a half for our meetings. It doesn't mean every meeting will go for an hour and a half. It means we will have it if we need it. So
I make such a motion.
Barbara makes a motion that we expand our meetings from 6 to 7:30 if we need it. If we can get the work done in an hour, believe me, we'll get it done in an hour. But if it runs over, I don't want to just be going over without having the agreement of everybody. So, okay, do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, second by Dave. Any discussion?
No,
If-
I
If you're
thought,
gonna-
yes,
Chuck?
if you're going to extend it for another half an hour, can we start a half an hour earlier?
It's fine with me, but what do
Rather
people
With
say?
me.
than run it to 7:30? Because if it runs to 7:30, I'm going to vote no.
Okay, how about starting at 5:30?
If it started at 5:30, I could do that.
Okay, so
everybody do-
5:30 to 7?
I can do that.
oh, I think starting at 5:30 will be an issue for me, since my day ends at 4:30 and I drive. I
Oh.
sometimes cannot make it by 5:30 at home. And also with regards to that motion, I thought last time the agreement was that we have to have it for 1 hour, but if there is a need to extend it, then we have to vote and extend it for 30 minutes maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, that's another way to do it. Thoughts? I mean, there's a proposal on the table, so you can vote it down if you don't want to. And it's been amended with the suggestion to move it from 6 to 5:30.
I think the one issue that I would see here is that some of us are retired, but there are folks here that are working, and I can see that as being a problem for the working class here.
Well, I think the working people need to speak up who have a constraint like Mr. Cola.
I'm on board for keeping the start time at 6. I mean, on case by case basis, sure, we can extend 30 minutes, but that's it. Like,
Yes,
like,
I also agree with that. I agree with the previous speaker to keep it to keep it 6 o'clock. If there is a need to extend it, we can extend another 30 minutes. So let's keep it 6 o'clock. Our starting time 6 o'clock. If there is need to extend, we can extend it additional 30 minutes.
Okay, well, there's a motion on the table, so I'm gonna reject the friendly amendment and we'll take a vote, and then we can vote, and then we can, if we don't want to do it, then we're not gonna do it. But there's a motion on the table with the second that we expand the meetings from 6 to 7:30. Everyone in favor, raise your hand. Well, we've got 5, so, okay, the motion passes. So if you need to leave sooner, I will tell you that I will do everything in my power to get us through the meeting as quickly as possible. Okay, moving on. So, Tim,
Yes, good evening, everyone. How's everyone doing?
Mr.
tonight?
Richards,
Yes, I'm here.
is Marilyn not joining us tonight?
Marilyn will not be joining this evening.
Okay, so the purpose was having a representative from the Resource Recovery Division was to discuss the budget. So I don't know if you have a copy of the budget you're going to go through with us. I'm not sure how the presentation will be.
Well, just based off of the questions that were provided prior to us going over that, RD will only be focusing on those questions that are strictly for the Resource Recovery Division. Any of the questions that were provided outside the scope of Resource Recovery Division will not be going over in this platform this evening.
Nancy, can I ask a quick question?
Sure,
The budget has been adopted and by the council, is that correct?
yes.
So
That's
what we're doing now is just for informational purposes. It's set in stone.
Yes, and
Okay,
and
thank you.
Chuck, yes, and point of order that Barbara and I made a lot of effort to discuss with a number of people that we wanted to have feedback prior to the approval. And we could not get agreement on that. My hope is that what we'll do is we'll ask some questions. We will start in the fall as the county's preparing its budget for the next year and figure out really a better way for us to engage in this process. So this is really just informational.
But we thought that since we had these questions and the budget from each year to the next is likely pretty boilerplate. If we can get answers while we're thinking about these questions, it's going to be useful for next year when we're getting at the budget. We
Yeah,
already
so the,
have a head start.
yeah, the idea was to, at least we could learn something at this point, and then in the future, we'll be able to work on, hopefully we'll have a way to engage that feedback in a more meaningful way with the players. Okay, so Mr. Richards. I'm not sure how you want to proceed, but the floor is yours.
Yeah, no, I'm just here to answer any questions that you have pertaining to strictly RRD. We didn't have any type of presentation or anything of that nature, but we were here on to be able to answer any questions that you had specifically for RRD. Any of the questions pertaining to DPOD, DPW&T, stormwater, sustainability, none of those questions will obviously be answered here because we are strictly focused on the issues limited to solid waste within the Resource Recovery Division's purview.
Yeah, I guess I had the impression that there was going to be some kind of presentation and then we could ask questions.
There were a number of questions that were presented via email that we looked through.
Great, can you answer those?
Okay, yes, I have many
ahead.
let's see, I have 1, 2, I have 5 pages of questions that were sent. Mostly from Barbara and Dave.
There were a total, the first email from Barbara there was on Friday, June the 9th to Kevin. She sent over 10 questions. Only 4 of those questions were pertaining to Resource Recovery Division and solid waste. And those were questions number 2, questions number 4, question number 6, and it appears that question number 8.
Okay, well, I have her document in front of me. So why don't you go ahead?
No worries. So, Ms. Barber, so there was I guess you had a question in regards to the expansion of the residential composting program to an additional 60,000 households throughout the county. And you wanted to know the percentage of those households that actually participate currently. Is that correct?
Right, both that and to say that I thought it's very deceiving how it's written, to say, to make it read to the naive reader as if everybody who is within the area that can participate is participating.
Well,
Because I suspect that it says how many households participate. And I think what it's really is how many households are permitted to participate.
so currently right now, these are households that are in the county's program. There are roughly 180,000 households that have the opportunity to participate in the composting program. Currently right now, there is approximately 36 to 40% of those households currently right now actively participating. With the next rollout, we do have anticipations of obtaining anywhere from roughly 60 to another 70,000 residents to get them actively participating in the physical county's composting program, who are eligible to receive that based on the county's curbside collection program for those households, totaling 180,000 residential units.
I'm confused.
Okay, how many are now again? Can you
I'll
repeat
go
that?
over again. So there's a total of 180,000 units, meaning residential units that are able to actively participate in the county's curbside collection program for composting. Out of those 180,000 units, roughly currently right now, there's 36 to 40% currently participating and actively participating, which is roughly, out of percentage numbers, there's roughly about 65,000 units currently participating.
Do they have to opt in still, or is it?
Currently, right now, there's a process.
180,000.
That was during the during the initial rollout and in the secondary rollout, there was an opt-in process. The opt-in process will be, essentially going away. Right now, if you are actively a part of the county's curbside collection program, meaning you're receiving trash recycling, and composting, you can call in and obtain a composting cart if you would like to.
No, they delivered
but
it, actually.
We are delivering it,
Yeah.
but Chuck was just asking me, do you have to currently opt in? And what I'm saying is, if you are part of the curbside collection program, and if you would like to receive one currently right now, before the next rollout, you can call in to obtain a composting cart.
So it's an opt-in to call to get the container, but it is countywide.
For curbside, for the curbside collection
Curbside
program.
is picked up. Okay, I get it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
No worries, sir.
Does that mean even if you're in a municipality?
No, only for the 180,000 active, only for the 180,000 residential units that are part of the county's curbside collection program.
Okay. Okay, so, and the goal is to increase it by how much?
We're looking for a goal to increase it anywhere from another 60,000 to 70,000 residential household units within this next rollout, meaning that's the objective that we're going to do when we roll out this next rollout sometime during the course of FY24.
How many are there total?
About 65,000.
Total, the ones totally right now participating, 65,000.
No, how many households total are there in the county, if you, in the non-municipalities and the ones that are covered by trash and recycling? You say
180,000 units.
I thought you said there are 180,000 now that can participate.
You asked how many, you asked the question of how many units there are in the curbside collection program, 180,000. Currently right now, a part of the composting of those 180,000 units, there's roughly approximately 65,000 units currently participating in the county's compost food scrap program right now.
Okay, so my question though.
Almost a third. Almost a third, give or take.
Now, let's say that again.
Yeah, so almost a third. So the 60,000 are fulfilling the composting part of it, and you want to roll out another 60,000 in the second phase.
60 to 7. We're expecting to obtain another 60 to 70,000 units in the next rollout phase. That is correct.
How do you anticipate doing that?
Where they're going straight to delivery. So we're for the ones that have not been a part of the previous rollouts, they're going to go ahead and obviously get delivery of the composting cart during this next rollout. We're just going to go ahead and deliver them to those residents. In regards to obviously the participation of the another 60,000 to 70,000 units, we're expecting those carts to remain at those residencies once delivered, meaning that you're not going to have a resident calling back to say, I don't want this cart at on my premises. So that's what we're looking for. Another 60, 70,000
in the budget
containers are in the budget, yes.
or for the additional third, or for the remaining who aren't currently participating?
Where we will be purchasing another set of roughly 70,000 to 80 to 70,000, 75,000 carts for this next rollout in FY24.
So that would still leave about a third with no carts.
Because we still have some on site, obviously from those who did not want to have the carts on their premises. Because it's not mandatory currently right now, but this is, yeah. So that's how we still have some on there in terms of supply to be able to properly deliver for those, obviously if they change their mind and they want to go ahead and be able to, obtain a cart, they have the right to be able to do so.
Mr. Richards, I have a
Yes.
question for you.
Yes, sir.
This is Dave Brosh. I think it might be also good, in addition to giving more carts to more people, have some type of a real public relations or kind of a education awareness campaign, because I think it really helps get people involved if they really understand really what's going on. And I think this is kind of a new thing. This isn't just recycling. It seems to me that should be part of what the county should be doing, in addition to giving them new carts or more carts.
Absolutely, and thank you for that question, Mr. Brosh. During the course of FY23, we did have an education and outreach program where we had multiple mailers go out for a plethora of items. And one of those items obviously was in regards to food scrap and composting in regards to awareness. And that was a part of our budget for FY23. We will also look forward to doing some things in regards to educational and outreach for FY24 as well too. But we are actively, obviously, trying to make as many residents as possible, to obtain, further education and awareness of obviously the county's programs and its initiatives.
So, Mr. Richards, are you saying that you're going to deliver carts to people who haven't opted in? You're just going to deliver them to people who?
The way the county goes ahead and goes about this in regards to the deliveries is that we have a subset of households. Obviously, we put this out in phases. We had a subset of homes during this previous phase that we did in FY23. And for the remaining homes for this FY24 rollout, we will be going ahead targeting those remaining homes to have, deliveries for those that did not, receive it during the secondary rollout.
So they haven't requested these, they're just going to get them.
That is correct.
Okay. And if they don't want them, then what happens?
If they don't want them, they wind up calling in to go ahead and put a service request in and have them to be removed from it if they don't want them. Now, obviously, our staff, we wind up going ahead and doing what we got to do in terms of persuading residents, with further education of why they should wind up keeping the cart. But if they are persistent in regards to not wanting that cart remaining on their premises, the agency and division will remove them from there.
And I would just like to give a plea that they do a better outreach in the delivery. When they delivered all to our community, West Laurel, they gave no notice to the residents that the carts were being delivered. Bates dumped them in the middle of each block, in the middle of the road, not at the person's entrance or driveway, but in the middle of the road. And for people who wanted them, they disappeared. For people who didn't know about it, they had no clue that they should go 200 feet down and look for a cart. And people were incredibly pissed off. And the listserv of our community was just blazing with people screaming of what a waste of taxpayer money it is. And it's such a good initiative. And it was handled in a way that made the citizens absolutely pissed off at DOE.
Okay, well, there was in regards to every rollout that we've done, there have been mailers that were going out in regards to this initiative.
People say they did not get them in West Laurel before it was delivered. Some people said like 2 weeks later they got a mailer.
Okay, well, at the time, that was also during some of the height of COVID as well too, during that time frame.
No, it was after. It was way after.
This was also during 2022. So there were still issues going on with the US mailing system. So if you did not wind up receiving it in a timely manner, the county does apologize for that, but we will go ahead and take into consideration to be able to, obviously get some things out sooner than later in regards to having those things mailed out in a more timely manner, for education and awareness purposes of the anticipation of arrivals.
Mr. Richards, if that is indeed going to happen, do you think you could let the commission know when those mailers are going out this time?
Mr. Brosh, you went out for 1 second. Can you repeat your question one more time, sir?
Yeah, I'd like to ask is, as this rollout happens, and you said you're going to be doing some type of a mailer, could you let us know when that mailer actually goes out?
Absolutely. We will make sure that that SWAC is updated accordingly once we go ahead and have that timeline set up in regards to those mailers for the additional residents that we are expecting to obtain and have become a part of this program.
So, Mr. Richards, do you have speaking of the time frame, delivering 70,000 carts? That's a big job. That's a lot of carts and a lot of trucks. And do you all plan to start that sometime soon? And then I presume it's going to take months to get. Is that the case?
Well, we had during the secondary rollout, we had 60, 70,000 carts that we delivered on that secondary rollout as well too. We do have vendors that we work with in regards to having that done in a timely fashion.
How long does that?
The secondary rollout, I believe, and please don't quote me on this here, but I believe it was
just
like
ballpark.
It was rough ballpark about 6 to 8 weeks in regards to having it completed. Okay,
I was just curious what that time frame looks like. So, okay, thank you. Okay, any more questions about the?
Yes.
Go ahead,
Yes,
Bill.
I have a,
Hold on. Go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, so the total that is going to be ultimately distributed is 180,000 which is the total number of citizens that receive trash services through the county. Is that correct?
We had an expectation of obtaining 180,000 units. Currently, right now, based on the ones that have returned carts and the ones that have retained carts, there's approximately 65,000 residential units that have retained carts thus far.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
But we don't
No worries.
actually know of the ones that retain carts, how many of them actually use them to participate. That's a number we don't really know.
I mean, if they are receiving yard waste, yard trim, food scraps, composting, et cetera, that, you know, we have to obviously have that as a part of those residents in terms of a real number of those residents being participants in that arena. Because if they do have that going there, those are the real numbers for that.
No, that's the people that have carts. That's not the people who use the cart.
Well, here's the thing, Mr. Wamsley. As a part of that, you can also put your grass clippings in that cart. You can go ahead and put your yard trim in that cart as well too. So, you know,
I understand what you're saying, but my observation in walking the streets of the neighborhood every day is that very few people are using the green carts, even for their yard waste. They continue to use those carts that they had previously had, which are some assemblage of, you know, trash cans that they wrote yard waste on it. And that's what they use for the yard waste. Because they're bigger totes than the ones that are green that were distributed for that purpose and for the composting. I'm just saying observationally, that's what I see. Very few people are actually using the green carts. But they still put out their yard waste. They just don't use the green carts to do it. Now, how many of those people that are using other carts for yard waste are including compost in it? Unknown. But observationally, that's what I see in the neighborhoods that I walk daily.
So
And
Tim,
And the county respects your observation, Mr. Wamsley. Thank you for that.
Sure.
Tim,
Barbara?
may I verify something? My understanding is, from having really tried to pay careful attention to this and talking with Andrea Krubs, is that for most of the county, they want you to put yard wastes separately if you have a lot of yard wastes. And the green carts are mainly and the yard wastes will go to, what's this? Leaf Grow. And the green carts will go to the Leaf Grow Gold. They're supposed to be mainly for food scraps, but you can put yard wastes in the bottom to line it, and also newspapers and whatnot. That there are a number of jurisdictions at least in North County. I know that we are one, Victoria Falls is another, where the county has deemed that we are so far from Upper Marlboro that it's not worth it to run separate trucks. So the trucks throw the yard wastes into the same mix as the compost when they collect it. And so we're allowed to mix everything together, but the rest of the county is supposed to keep those as much as possible separate. Is that or is that not correct? Because that's what I've been told.
No. So all of that composting material for food scraps and yard waste and yard trim, they all go into the same collection vehicle.
But how does the county have a separate, they say they still have a separate Leaf Grow and Leaf Grow Gold?
It's the way it's properly processed. That's the way it is. There's some other additives added into that to go ahead and obtain your Leaf Grow composition, and the same thing with the regular standard Leaf Grows. The way that it is properly processed.
Okay, so I'm going to stop here because it's 7 o'clock. And I want to be extremely mindful of the time. We have not agreed to go longer for this meeting. This is an hour meeting. I want to get a feel, though, before we sign off. I'm going to defer a couple other items. Would the commissioners want resource recovery to come back next month and answer more questions, or do you want to wait? What's your sense of what you think makes sense?
Nancy, instead of tying up everybody's time, is it possible they could submit answers in writing? Since Barbara had an extensive list of questions, could they respond to those in writing?
I'm sure they could.
Cut down the time, and then if we had follow-up questions, deal with the follow-up.
Great idea.
I agree totally with Chuck.
Okay,
We had one question that took us 15 minutes. And
exactly.
Barbara and I asked a lot of questions. It'd be better if they followed up with,
If they could provide brief
Answering
answers
written.
and follow up.
Okay, so we'll compile the questions. We'll focus them on the Resource Recovery Division and send them to Kevin and let Kevin forward them to Marilyn, and she can handle that response however she wants. If it turns out that and then we'll redistribute the responses. If the feeling of the commissioners is that they would like to have somebody there to discuss those answers, we can arrange that at a future date. I'm not going to give a little report on the durable medical reuse tour. We can talk about that next time. I will only say it's an absolutely incredibly fantastic thing that the state is doing. We're the only state in the nation that is doing this incredibly amazing project. And it's okay. It's located in Prince George's County, but it's not really a county project. It's a state project with a lot of with assistance from MES, the Maryland Environmental Service, that also provides a lot of services to the county as well.
Ditto.
Chuck?
Ditto.
Yeah, was really great. So, but I'll talk a little bit about that, and the people, Bill, Chuck, and Barbara and I were all there. We can talk a little bit and just let people know what's going on out there. It's really fabulous. Also, I had mentioned this earlier, but Barbara and I are meeting with Andrea Crooms tomorrow to discuss some of these issues, and we're meeting with the county council representatives in a week or two. So to sort of get everybody at the same table. So that's it. And with that,
Nancy, before you adjourn, one other issue, and I asked Kevin today for a list of when the terms of
yes, and
expire, and there are a number of us who expire this year. I would hope that the council or the county executive is looking at either replacements or looking at having us renewed if that's what she desires, but not wait until the last minute. And then, because there's, I think, 4 or 5 of us that are be coming up shortly. And if they don't start the process now for approval in the fall, you're not going to have a quorum.
right. So thank you for bringing it up. Kevin did send it to me this afternoon or yesterday. I had asked for it and he sent it. There was a lot of email traffic. I didn't see it. I will forward it to everybody. And Barbara and I will mention it to the county council members and to Miss Brewer. And that's another thing, is we need more members. So if people have ideas about bringing new people on, please bring them to us so we can forward them to the county executive's office. That would be
Because we
great.
have a minimum of 9.
Yeah.
I mean, we can do 15.
Yep.
So we need more good environmentally concerned volunteers.
Yeah. So thanks, Chuck. Appreciate that. So I will send that out. So you'll have that soon and we'll move on that. So thank you. Okay, everybody. Thank you so much. We'll see
Excellent meeting. Thank you for running it so well.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. And we'll see you next month.
Have a good evening, everyone.
Okay.
Take care.
And thank you for
Mr.
coming,
Thank you,
Tim.
Mr. Richards. We
No-
appreciate it.
No worries at all. Thank you all. Appreciate the attendance. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Kevin.